Alright, gentlemen, it's Fantasy Basketball Video Week 3. First, I think we'll start with some explanations. I know Ray explained it on the Facebook page, but just so everyone is clear. Each of us gets 35 games per week that we get to play. Some weeks that number is a little higher or lower depending on how many games are played. Look at the first week's matchup as an example, and I'm pretty sure Super Bowl week will be another one. To see how many games will count, look at your matchup. Underneath your name, it will say X and Y games played. Y is how many games total you can hit. Once you've hit Y for the week, any other games played on any additional days will not count. So it is possible to surpass 35 in a week, as Power Ranger and I did. You'll see some of the veterans to our league maximize with 34 games played on Saturday, so that every game they play on Sunday will count. This means you may have to sit players during the week in order to avoid hitting 35 on Saturday, unless you want to. For example, I knew I had one or at one point no players playing on Sunday. So I maxed out my players throughout the week and hit 41 on Saturday. All 41 counted though, since I didn't surpass 35 until Saturday. Unfortunately, there's no way to stop it exactly at 35, so you'll see some weeks where you'll have more or less than your opponent. And with the compressed NBA schedule from the lockout, you may be sitting more of your bench players than you would have last season. We decided to keep the limit because it adds strategy for those of us that have been playing the league for years. I'm sorry if we weren't clear enough in our explanations leading up to now. Now on to the matchups for Week 3. As you may have seen on Facebook, our numbers 1 and 2 players from last week's rankings matched up. Both Serenity and Tacos had excellent weeks, but Serenity's was better, winning 6-3-0. They were both very close in adjusted field goal percentage and steals, but none of the other categories were close at all. I took on Power Ranger and barely squeaked out a 5-4-0 win. Both of us had the most players playing on the week, 41 for me and 40 for Power Ranger. But even with that many games played, neither of us came close to the stats put up by Serenity and Tacos, who had 5 to 6 less games played than we did. Not a good thing looking forward, clearly. Granted, I only had 2 games from my number 1 pick, Dwight Howard, and Carmelo had an injury, missing out on almost 2.5 games. Awesomeness got the better of Poverty with a big 6-3-0 win. Poverty kept it close in three-pointers, but fell 4 games short of Awesomeness and unfortunately can't seem to make up his mind about Danny Granger, sitting him twice when he surpassed 20 points. Understandable though, since in between those 20-point games, he had a 4-point game. Of course, Awesomeness got 4 games out of Kobe this week, and he hit 48, 40, 42, and 42 points in each of those games. There's not much you can do against that. Rough Riders had the big win this week with a 7-2 drubbing of Yellow Jackets, but some of that could have been because it seems Yellow Jackets isn't playing, or at least adjusting his lineup. He was only at 26 games played on the week. Rough Riders had 10 more games played than that. Even with losing Stephen Curry, there was little chance of losing, though. Yellow Jackets did keep it close. He was only 5 short on three-pointers and 10 short on assists. Quietly doing very well is Mockingbird, who came away with a 6-3-0 win over Santa. 5 more games played helped, as he only won rebounds by 19 and steals by 5. But he completely dominated with 672 points on the week. He spread out his points evenly over his team, hitting 70 or more with 5 different players. Now on to the trophies. 7 new trophies being handed out this week, with 3 of them changing hands. Santa couldn't miss this week, taking the adjusted field goal percentage trophy away from Mockingbird. He hit 53.70% of his shots, just beating out Awesomeness, who hit 53.15%. Tacos beat his old record of 89 and lost the ball 98 times in his week against Serenity. Mockingbird blew away Tacos' old record of 641 points with 672 in Week 3. Tacos again beat his old record of 158 assists with 161 against Serenity. But Serenity was able to beat his old record of 43 pointers with 45. Serenity also grabbed more rebounds, breaking his old record of 254 with 262 in Week 3. Lastly, Serenity also stole a trophy away from Tacos with 138 free throws, far surpassing the 128 Tacos had last week. Lastly, the power rankings. A week after losing the spot to Tacos, Serenity moves back up to first with a dominating win over Tacos. Mockingbird continues to climb and is now in a two-way tie with Tacos for second place. I hold down the fourth spot. Awesomeness used a big week to move up to number 5. Poverty continues to drop and is now down to 6th. Santa also drops again, this time to 7th. Rough Riders holds on to number 8. Power Rangers climbs out of the basement to number 9. And lastly, Yellow Jackets falls back into the basement at number 10. Looking ahead, I'll take on Santa. Serenity will be taking on Awesomeness. Poverty and the Power Ranger go head to head. Mockingbird should continue his climbs against the bottom feeder Yellow Jackets. Lastly, Tacos takes on the consistently number 8 team, Rough Riders. There are 35 games available again this week. I'll be sure to remind you all of the number of games played at the end of these videos too. But look at your team, add up the number of games you can play, and decide how you want to set your lineup for the week. This season is still young and there's still a lot of movement available in the standings. Not only that, but 8 of us will make it to the playoffs, so if you didn't understand during the first 3 weeks, you have plenty of time to make up for it. Sorry again for the confusion. Have a good week, fellas.